Good afternoon, everyone. To start off, I have a question for you all. Within the past month, how many of you have listened to the radio or a podcast? Raise your hands. As you can see, there is quite a few of you, and that is not coincidental. Contrary to popular opinion, radio is still a viable source and / podcast. I'm going to kind of interchange them today. And it is still a source that people are consistently consuming regularly. So I'm going to be diving deeper in that today, talking about the audience, how many people are listening to radio, and then also talking about how brands, how companies are changing the way they're releasing their content to be more up with the 21st century. So, but before I start talking about that, I need to do an introduction. When talking about anything to do with me, the number one I think of, the people I got to talk about, is my family. This is my brothers. We all kind of look similar, as you can see. They have been very inspirational in helping me get to where I am today. Josh, Caleb lives in San Francisco. Josh lives in Northwest Arkansas. So currently we are kind of spread out. But even throughout that, I will call them or text them, hey, can you look at my resume? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Listen to my new radio segment, and give me some pointers. And they are always there to give me encouragement and any feedback that I might need. And as Josh was the initial encouragement for helping me get into kind of my journey towards broadcasting in the first place. The other people I can't not talk about is my parents. They're right here. Thanks for coming, Mom and Dad. This is my dad. He's worked at Stater Brothers for 42 years, and he is the example for me of what good work ethic means and providing for his family. And he's just an inspiration. And then you got my mom here. I could do an entire presentation on how amazing my mom is and her testimony. You should talk to her. But she's survived leukemia. She's survived 2 strokes. She's gone through numerous other illnesses. But here she is today. And she actually still works for the state of California. She has her own car that she can be mobile with. So. But now I'm going to kind of jump to my journey in broadcasting. As you can see, this is me, my junior year of high school, announcing football games. This was Mr. Casa, Mr. Drysall. We announced those games together. This was my senior year. And I've even since been able to continue on with that. That was this year, actually. I was only able to go to 3 games, but it's a lot of fun, and that's where my start came. And even though it's not necessarily journalism focused, that's how I first started to practice my talking skills and being not afraid to speak on a microphone with a bunch of people listening to you. So, yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is what had kind of reinvigorated me with my passions for radio. I think I studied abroad in Quito, Ecuador last fall. And while I was there, I actually had the opportunity to intern for HCJB or HCJP. HCJB. They were actually the first. They were the first daily radio programming in Ecuador. They were started by missionaries, and there I worked with Edwin Chamorro, and I helped with my dad in visit me. He took that cool shot, and I got to help write his scripts. What I would do is I actually went on Spanish news sites, but I would just use Google Chrome and translate it and say, okay, yeah, that's a good story. You should check this out and do that type of thing. So I'm not fluent in Spanish, but we found a way to work around it. So yeah, and even since then, I've been able to build upon those relationships. I actually just went back this past August, actually, and visited them again. And something I feel there, I really felt like I was at a part of the family. And like I said, it reinvigorated me because I really enjoyed going in there, looking up the news for the day, and getting to work with them. Linda Espin, that's her right there. Me and her were actually the ones we worked the most together. It was honestly a great time to be with her every day. So now to jump back to my topic, the audience of radio. like I was saying, contrary to popular belief, radio is actually a still very viable form of media. These numbers are according to the organization News Generation. And so as you can see, the reach, at least, so this is a percent of people in the US per month. As you can see, 93% of people in the US consume some type of radio, 88% consume some type of TV. You see the smartphone, you know, the millennial generation. So that I do foresee, radio and TV might go a little down, smartphones will go up. But out of those the type of radio, these are the top 3 kinds that people are listening to. You have country, surprisingly. I was kind of shocked to learn that. And the next ones are, news and talk. The next 2, are news and talk radio. And those are, you know, where you got like people like, you got types of radio like Rush Limbaugh on the far left, and then you got like more middle stuff, and you got things all over. And those, people are listening. And so this is actually just a report by NPR. That's the link to the report there. They are actually growing in listenership. To the Nielsen report, on a weekly basis, about 37.7 million people are tuning in to their stations. And nearly 28.7 million people are listening to their daily, hourly news updates through their 947 NPR local affiliates. If you're curious, by the way, if you've never listened to NPR, the local affiliates out here are KPCC 89.3, KCRW 89.9. I'm a big NPR guy. I'm the manager of the radio station, and that's kind of been my inspiration for how I've wanted to mold things. I just admire their storytelling. The next thing I want to talk about, though, is their online presence. Radio companies and music companies, like music news, all of them have found new ways to reach their audience. And of course, for news, of course, you've heard of podcasts. You would be surprised. So, like these 2 right here, these are 2 NPR podcasts. A lot of those air on local affiliates, but they're also being listened to outside of that. But then you have newspapers. You see the Daily. That's a New York Times publication where they spend about 20 minutes covering some of the issues every day. But I also want to talk about, so that was Apple Podcasts. That was just yesterday. This right here is Spotify. There are now numerous ways to take in that media. Just here for KBR The Torch at Biola, we broadcast on SoundCloud, and there are a ton of different podcasts that you can even get on there as well. So online platforms, NPR One. I always try to recommend this app to anyone because it is a great source for anyone trying to I think it's great for college students because you can search different stories, you can follow a specific podcast and things like that, and it will tailor your what podcasts it's going that are going to you through what you like and dislike. And so I have some examples. This is a picture of my page, and so I've liked things like Mind Shift, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. I actually just saw them live with my dad. Pretty cool experience. You also, you can subscribe to these things, and they'll also give you different shows that are a lot like the ones that you're listening to. And so NPR is really trying to burst into, the millennial age and make it more accessible. If I'm being truthful, I don't really listen to NPR on the actual radio waves. I use their app because it's very accessible. I can listen to the news exactly when I want to. I don't have to like randomly turn it on in the middle. And so it's convenient, and there's a lot of it's just a good source. And so the next thing I want to talk about, this is kind of more of a minor one, is iHeartRadio. Well, in terms of news, as a minor one. So iHeartRadio is doing a great job of also reaching a broader audience because you can actually access all their radio stations through their app. And so you just don't have to listen through your radio. You can, and you can actually listen to all their different stations throughout the country. And so their companies are coming up with different ways to consume the media, and I think they will continue to do that because it's the way things are going. So, yeah, thank you.